everyone. Welcome to Cellular Healing TV. I'm Ashley Smith. Today we are discussing a major biohack that everyone, from Dr. Pompa and his wife Merily to Olympic athletes, are regularly training their muscles with. That would be resistance band training, otherwise known as blood flow restriction. We have Dr. Jim Stray-Gundersen on today to discuss the benefits. Blood flow restriction works to improve fitness, strength, power, and lean body mass, and is anti-aging, all while using less weight in less time with better results. You'll learn what this type of training is, why it's safe, and what all of the benefits are. And just for you viewers, Dr. Pompa will be demoing this training for you on site at the Olympic Training Facility in Dr. Pompa's hometown of Park City, Utah. Before we get started, I'd like to tell you a bit more about Dr. Jim. Dr. Jim Stray-Gundersen is a world-renowned expert in sports medicine, exercise physiology, and training for sports performance, and is a world-renowned expert in blood flow restriction training. Dr. Jim is an MD in sports medicine and is the CMO, co-founder, co-developer of Be Strong and B3 Sciences, powered by Be Strong. Drawing from his lifetime of experience with elite-level athletes and clinical populations, Dr. Jim is one of the world's leading physiologists and strongly believes that blood flow restriction training will revolutionize training and rehabilitation everywhere. As a sports scientist, he has worked with elite-level teams in skiing, cycling, running, soccer, and countless others. He predicts Be Strong training will change how the world gains the benefits of exercise, improving longevity and quality of life. Be Strong training will change your life. And just for you, our wonderful CHTV audience, you can check out these bands if you go to drpompa.b3sciences.com and hit the shop button to check these out. You can also hear more about the science behind the training by visiting Dr. Pompa's other show, Health Hunters, and we will have the link for you in the show notes. So let's get started and welcome Dr. Pompa and Dr. Jim Stray-Gundersen to the show. This is Cellular Healing TV.
All right, well, welcome, Dr. Jim. You and I actually met some years ago because of Katsu.
Right.
And it was a similar technology, and I heard about it because you were working with some of the top skiers in the world, actually.
Right.
And my fascination became evident because this is something I get, but yet from a different perspective that I want them to hear about. But I get the fact that the magic happens because of the body's adaptation, meaning that when the body adapts, we get this hormone optimization. I actually have a term that I talk about, hormone optimization via, meaning from, adaptation. And that's what this is about, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And I think the aspect of this that is particularly important is that in the past and with these other devices, they weren't really affordable, they weren't easy to use, it wasn't for the adult fitness crowd to be able to get the advantages of this sort of thing relatively easily on their own.
Right, and matter of fact, back then I wanted to purchase one, but it was definitely costly, so I was like, well, I don't know. Okay, let's bring you in on what we're talking about. And I'm here on location because we're actually in the Center of Excellence building where the top athletes in the world and different sports, but mostly winter sports. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's winter sports primarily, but it also includes a number of summer sports and athletes from a variety of disciplines come and visit us.
Well, and that's why we're here, because that's where I was introduced to this technology. Is they use this for, as you're going to hear, actually recovery, injuries, and as well as really training at a very top level very quickly, which you're going to hear about. So what the heck are these things that I have on? And by the way, folks, I have them here too, because you're going to get a demonstration of something that I've used now for a while. This new one, I've only been using admittedly the last probably 3 weeks.
Okay.
So these new ones.
Because it's just come out.
Yeah, exactly. It's because it just came out. So I was really anxious to get my hands on them because of the price point, and I wanted to bring them the technology as well.
You're definitely on the cutting edge here.
No doubt. Okay, so the basic principle, first of all, what are these called?
These are called B3 Sciences bands, or blood flow restriction bands. And what they do is they essentially delay a little venous outflow back into the central circulation. And kind of the so what of that is that muscles that are working don't get the blood and oxygen that they need to sustain that work. And that process creates a metabolic crisis that does a couple things. One is there are local effects of this metabolic crisis in terms of building new and better blood vessels, but also new contractile proteins, a variety of other things that help you do the job better. But in addition, this metabolic crisis is signaled into the brain, and that's where you get into this neurohumoral output that has been documented by an increase in growth hormone 15 to 30 minutes after a workout.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I always love to give the analogy that people understand this cold thing now, moving from cold, very cold, 150 degrees for 3 minutes and then coming out and even going into warm. The body has to survive. It panics. It thinks it's dying, but it raises up through that process that you just talked about. It raises up growth hormone and norepinephrine that creates this anti-inflammatory reaction for hours, even a day later.
Absolutely.
Similar principle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And really, you know, it's not that we've discovered anything new. We've just found out how Mother Nature does things and found a kind of shortcut to getting that, so we don't have to be chased by that saber-toothed tiger to get those things going.
Or, in this case, work out like a madman in the gym.
Right.
When I love studying everything, and I looked at one study where they literally looked at almost 12,000 or maybe over 12,000 people. And they were comparing old people, young people doing heavy weights, very light weights, or very light weights with these bands. And the people doing these ridiculously light workouts with the bands got the same response or better than the people crushing it with these incredibly hard workouts and heavy weights. How could that be?
Well, it's essentially because of this paradigm shift in the way we think about this. We used to think, or at least I used to think, that if I wanted to get a muscle better trained, I would use that muscle, and over time it would get better. In this case,
even tear it up. I mean, that was the goal, at least my goal back, right?
And in this case, we're using the muscle to send a signal to the brain to release this hormonal response that ties into how we adapt to everything. And anything that gets used in an exercise format then ends up benefiting from this systemic hormonal response.
Hormone optimization from the adaptation.
Exactly.
The body panics and thinks, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. And as you'll see in a minute, quite the opposite, because I'm going to be using 5-10-pound dumbbells, and you'll see me failing, and yet that's the whole idea.
Yeah, and you know what Dr. Mike, the head of the B3 company, says is you get twice the benefit in half the time with half the load.
Okay, you just brought the benefit, because people are going, okay, so what do you say? I'm not a pro athlete. Okay, but if you desire to work out in a fraction of the time, with a fraction of the perceived effort, but the body doesn't know that, and get at least good of results or better.
Better because you haven't done any damage in the process.
Better.
So you don't have to repair that damage that is normally done.
I know that some of our viewers are familiar with Bode Miller. How did he use these? And he's, by the way, one of the all-time skiers.
Yeah, he's actually our best American male skier ever. And I worked with Bode over the years, and he ended up having a back pain problem, and we started working with him. We got him so that he was able to train with his back pain, lower back pain, and but it still didn't.
Because he was using such light effort?
Yeah, so whatever the exercises were, they weren't enough to stir up trouble in his back at that point. But it didn't really solve the problem. He ended up having a microdiscectomy of L4-5 at a point. But then we really hit him hard with the bands, because immediately post-op, we weren't really able to do much with him. But he was able to do some B3 exercises the next day after the operation. And in just 2 months, we got him ready for the World Championships in Vail, Colorado. or Beaver Creek, Colorado, and there he just had 2 months of doing nothing but B3 bands.
Yeah.
And a little bit of training skiing.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting in the Super G and was leading the race, and then had a crash. But his progress to that point was remarkable.
I know some of the studies that I read, it showed just with very little effort how with the bands they were able to increase vertical jump far faster
Right.
and even higher than all of the typical methods.
And again, it's this idea that normally we have this idea that there's a certain level of damage associated with workouts that are sufficiently strong to elicit this kind of hormonal response to adapt. But here we found a way to do that without getting that damage.
Yeah.
And so you start taking off right from the get-go, and so adaptations happen very quickly and very robustly.
Yeah. I mean, I know people watching it are like, okay, if I don't have to put in as much effort and get the same result, I'm in. Because, I mean, honestly, that's what the average person says, right? I mean, the athlete, though, is going, wait a minute, I want to put in that hardest effort I can because I'm associating that with the results.
Well, yeah, that may be true. One of the things, though, that I think that where the real breakthrough for this is for adult fitness. And basically, I think of this as anti-aging medicine. This allows everybody.
I was going there, yeah.
This allows everybody to get the benefits of regular exercise with, again, half the load and half the time for that regular benefit.
I mean, I think when you get into your 50s and 60s, the problem is that to get the results that you're looking for, you have to go hard, and now you are, in fact, risking injury.
Yeah, or you do get injured, or
That's right.
or something happens, and then you can't do your workouts anymore, and then everything starts falling apart, and there's kind of a downward spiral that ensues.
Yeah.
This is a way of breaking that spiral and getting it to go the other way.
So what we're saying is because you're able to go so light, not tear muscles, put a lot of pressure on joints, you're not going to get injured. And therefore, but the results are still there, if not better.
And there's even a more subtle facet to it, and that is that if we do our kind of normal workouts and something hurts us a little bit, that signal stirs up an inflammatory reaction, which usually has a catabolic response to things, and is a negative for overall fitness and adaptation
And overall health.
And what we do with this is we avoid any of that stuff during the exercise itself. So, the knees don't hurt, the back doesn't hurt, or whatever injury is healing, that healing isn't aggravated. So we cut out that whole negative catabolic process.
Right. One of the reasons why people feel, one of the reports is I feel better after these types of exercises versus going in the gym and doing my normal routine. Mm-hmm. You said there's an anti-aging effect. Is part of that because of the growth hormone rise that we're getting?
I don't know for sure, but I believe so. What we know is that we know that after a proper B3 workout, you will have an increase in circulating growth hormone. Mm-hmm. Where if you just did the exercises by themselves, there would be no change in growth hormone.
Right.
So, in my view, I use growth hormone. Growth hormone has a lot of really positive effects, but it's probably a marker hormone of a whole cascade of things that is happening. And so exactly what causes what, I don't think everybody's worked out exactly quite right.
When you look at the science on forcing that adaptation,
Mm-hmm.
I even talk about it as even dietary changes, but going in and out of the cold, etc. The norepinephrine is not talked about a lot, but you're getting that with this. And norepinephrine it's massively anti-inflammatory after the stress is over. And not to mention, it's also shown what it does for the brain. When you look at multiple neurodegenerative brain conditions, all of them are associated with low norepinephrine.
And that has been documented. So an increase in norepinephrine immediately after a B3 session has been documented. And as you know, the only way you get norepinephrine is you had to have a reflex arc that has gone into the brain to have that autonomic nervous system put out that signal.
Saying we're in trouble, and
exactly.
But really, the body is just we're forcing a survival
fooled
adaptation.
We've
Yeah,
fooled
exactly. Yeah, we're fooling it. But that adaptation is what creates the hormone optimization, and in this case, really the muscle optimization and recovery. Because we talked about it makes athletes stronger, jump higher, recover faster. But again, you talked a little bit about Bode Miller. But what about the average person's knee injury or average person injury? Are we seeing it being used for that?
Well, with top athletes, all of these little nuances are critical to their performance. They make their living out of how well they perform athletically. But for the rest of us, these things still work in the same way. And while we may not be able to measure what's going on with how much more money we're making or how faster of a time we're running, the same things are operative for all of us.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would argue then it's the hormone optimization of why it speeds up recovery even of a bad joint and injury. Is that truth to that? Okay. Yeah.
And there's another spin-off, and that is as we age, we become less and less able to do the functional movements that we need to get around and to have a free living life, if you will. But this kind of training will get that function back for us, or at least prolong that course, so that we can lead a healthy and normal life and optimize the length of time we have, so that we're not just sitting around in a wheelchair somewhere.
Right. All right. So we know that this is anti-aging. It's no doubt a way to become faster, stronger, healthier. Yeah. But let's give them an idea of what it looks like, right? In other words, we already said it takes less time with less effort, but what does that mean? Give us an idea of what the workout looks like.
The way we've designed this is that we now have a affordable, safe and effective, easy to use solution that can be used anytime, anywhere by anyone. And this lends itself to what I think of as an optimal way of living, where you have a base of exercise, maybe 15 minutes, 5 days a week in the morning in the privacy of your bedroom. You go through your B3 workout, and in that way you enjoy the increases in fitness and hormone optimization that is carried with these kinds of things. And then you have the rest of your day to enjoy whatever recreational events or your work efforts or taking care of the kids or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, so we don't need an hour or 2 hours in the gym. You're saying that in 15 minutes
here's an idea. You can get your workout in the time it would take you to drive to the gym.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. I do like that. And then back, so you actually save time. Okay, so 15 minutes, I can get a full body workout in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I add on to it. So I'm doing what used to take me an hour in less than 30 minutes. And I honestly, and I'm probably doing more than I need to.
Well, you may be. The key to making this effective is getting that metabolic crisis or fatigue signal. And once you get that signal, you're good. So if you're doing a series of, let's say your goal was to do 5 different exercises and you wanted to do 3 sets of 25 of each, for example, but after the 3rd exercise, you're pretty well gassed and you've gotten a good fatigue signal.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
We're going to show you what that looks like here. So, stay tuned. But you can get the bands. We'll put the link right here, and as well as in the show notes, so you can get them right off of my website, the very bands that I'm using. What used to cost thousands is now hundreds. Yeah, so
it's literally it's an order of magnitude less expensive.
Yeah, and just as effective.
Just as effective, even probably safer than the original equipment.
And that is, if I use the word occlusion, because I think, I said that, so Jim, this occludes it. No, it's not occlusion, it's restriction.
Right.
And that's what, you don't want to occlude, you want to restrict. Right. But it is that restriction that creates the adaptation.
This technique has its roots in 50 years of history, but it took probably 30 years of literally trial and error and of not doing it quite the right way for this to come to this point.
Right.
And I think we've taken a further step in making it safe and effective, easy to use, affordable, all these sorts of things. So now this is ready for prime time and for all of us adults who have otherwise busy lives, and we're trying to sneak that workout in.
Yeah, and the hormone optimization and anti-aging, that's what I love. All right, hand me the pumper upper. Let's see. You had mentioned for demonstration's sake to let's use one arm pump up one arm and the other, right?
Yeah. So here we have, and it's probably going to be a little hard to see on camera, but right now there's no pressure in the band. And we have a little number on the...
It says 200.
200, so the proper place to go is 200. But what I'd like you to do first is feel your radial pulse.
Okay.
And just confirm to the audience that you've got a nice, good radial pulse.
1, 2.
And so here we're out at 200, which is the recommended pressure on the band. And do you still have a pulse?
I do.
Okay, so now, just out of an abundance of caution, all unsafe things that happen with BFR training happens when you occlude
BFR, blood flow restriction training.
When you occlude the arterial inflow. So now I'm going to take this up to the maximum capacity of the pump. Here we are at 500, and you still have a pulse?
I do.
Yeah. So this shows that no matter what I do with this is way too much for you to be exercising, but no matter what I do with this, I can't get an occlusive situation.
No, what about like the tightness of this? Like if I strap it on even tighter, I mean, is that going to cause...
One of
That's as tight as I can go, actually, to be honest with you. But
so one of the things that I was not super happy about with some of the previous devices is it was possible to get into an occlusive situation. We designed these bands specifically to, pardon the expression, make them idiot-proof, so that if someone put them on in the right place, and no matter what they did with the pump, they're not, and no matter how tight they made them, they're not going to occlude their arterial circulation.
Got it. So, and I remember before too, from being here, there's a way even to check the, I kind of messed it up. That's what I was trying to do.
Refill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go ahead. I spun it around, but here, just so I made it easier for you. But now it feels normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. There's a way to check even.
So one of the things we could do is look at capillary refill, and if I let go, all of a sudden your pink color comes back quite briskly. And the key is that if it's longer than 4 seconds coming back, then it's a
maybe too tight.
problem.
Yeah. Okay.
But this comes back within a second or so.
All right.
This
So
is really good stuff.
We're going to leave this arm alone, right? And we're
Right.
going to pump this arm up.
And just to make this a little more dramatic, instead of 200, I went to 270.
That's about where I trained, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So now what we're going to try to do with this is demonstrate that fatigue signal, and
Little more delayed.
Yeah.
But not much.
And so one of the things you're going to see, or the audience is going to see, is the skin on this arm is going to turn a little redder, and the veins are going to be a little bit more prominent. And just for the sake of demonstration, let's go ahead and take this one off.
Yeah.
And then
That way they
it's
know.
clear to the audience what's going on.
And hand me a dumbbell, and I'll move the chair back just so I'm still in the thing and kind of spread my legs. These are 5-pound dumbbells.
Right.
Okay.
And so let's do one of our typical protocols.
Here, you can move that over. You can come in here so you're still on the camera.
So let's do one of our typical protocols, basically light arm curls.
Okay.
And we have a protocol of 3 sets of 30 repetitions. So full extension on the arms, palms facing forward, bring the arm up and then kind of give a squeeze up at the top.
Okay.
And really what the comparison here is your left arm has blood flow restriction applied to it, while the right arm is exercising normally. And what we're looking for, the exercise is the same, we're just looking at the difference having the band in place makes. And one of the things about these protocols is what we do with the first set of exercise.
Back in there just so they can see it. Okay.
What we're doing with this first set of exercise is we're actually trying to use up some ATP in these muscles. Mm-hmm. And what that does is it sets the stage for blood to come back in and provide more oxygen so you can replace or regenerate that ATP. And what happens when we have blood flow restriction bands in place, we just can't get as much oxygen as the muscle would like.
Right.
And so now if we just take a rest, let's say 30-second rest.
I was starting to fail, by the way. This arm.
Yeah, excellent.
Not this arm.
We say
I can do 30-pound dumbbell.
We say
over here.
failure is fun. So one of the things here is now, while you were doing those arm curls, your muscle was actually helping pump some blood back into the central circulation. But now when you're resting, we call that pseudo rest, because now you've lost that muscle pump, and now you have even less blood flow going to that muscle that needs to regenerate the ATP. And so now when you start the second set, all of a sudden you're going to have to use additional motor units, additional fibers to perform the work, and they're going to get in metabolic trouble even quicker. And before you know it, we're going to get that whole muscle fatigued and ready to send a nice signal to your brain. How are we doing?
Burning. This arm.
Yeah.
This arm's fine. I can keep going with that arm fast. Okay.
So this is really a good demonstration. Notice the difference in skin tone from one side to the other. And you're mostly, like, look at his fingers on his right versus his left hand. And the veins are prominent. What we're getting is a really good session here, and his brain is aware that his left biceps is in trouble, and that's the stimulus to cause this hormonal optimization.
Yep.
And now again we're in a pseudo rest period. So while it's nice that you don't have to do arm curls, now there's even less blood getting into this thing. Mm-hmm. And this third set is really a killer. You're going to really be tough to carry it out.
Whew. Okay. How long in between rest?
Well, generally 30 to 60 seconds. But for the purposes here, we're good to go.
All right.
You know, and one of the things that's really nice is you got a good smile on your face.
I do.
You're enjoying this.
It burns.
Yeah.
Yep. I can tell you, when you're doing the legs, that's the worst. Even though that burns, but the leg muscles are just bigger, so they burn bigger. Oh. Yeah, it's failing.
Okay. So usually on that third set,
Yeah.
go ahead, we'll just take that off.
Yep.
And give you some recovery.
Whew.
And so,
Okay, now people are saying, okay, you just worked your bicep,
Right.
but actually that's not true. I worked more than that.
you did. Your core was active throughout this whole thing. And usually what we do is we do a series of exercise that gets as many muscles of the body involved in this process as possible.
So what would we do next?
Well, typically when we're doing just upper body stuff, we might do things like some hand squeezes, 3 sets of 30 of those.
Right, you have like these,
You're right, the
right.
hand grippers.
And even just, you could do presses.
Right, or push-ups.
Push-ups, I
Or
do all these things.
Some sort of, with elastic cords, you can do kind of, tricep extensions. But just something
Do they have those? I
Yeah.
saw those somewhere. Here, grab me a couple cords. So,
you could do something like put it around your back.
yeah, the point is with me showing these is just how simple it is. Like, this is too light of a cord for me normally to get a workout. But literally, I could do something like this with the bands on here and literally be screaming burning from my triceps.
Or for examples,
or
switch
I
it,
can stand on it.
Right, switch it around, and then instead of having the weights, you're doing the arm curls.
I could do it like that, right? Exactly.
And
I can even do it like this.
With very little equipment, this goes anywhere.
Yeah.
It goes to your hotel when you're on a business trip. You can get your workout in, and
then of course when I have these on, I just do body squats.
Right.
And I mean, I'm telling you, we'll move you back into the frame here, but body squats, which normally wouldn't, unless I jumped off the ground and made it really dramatic, wouldn't really burn. With these, I'm burning just with that.
Yeah.
I did it in my hotel room.
Right.
So
we have something called chairs, which is literally getting up and out of a chair and back and forth. And that ends up becoming an impossible task after a few sets with the bands on. And but those things have direct application to seniors to be able to get in and around the house, to do things. And then you could do things like stairs, where you're just walking up a flight of stairs, and that's enough of an exercise that you really start getting all this stuff done. So there's ways of taking essentially the equipment around you that are normally around you to get a really great workout in a very short period of time.
I started cycling with them. I just put them on 15 minutes on my bike. And well, I mean, you should see, I mean, I'm burning. I mean, literally, I'm like, rip them off. But, what I notice is I get stronger faster.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I notice.
Because you haven't done the damage.
Right, yeah.
That you normally do. So it's a big, strong signal for adaptation. And because you don't have to repair this damage that you usually have to do to get that kind of workout in, you just start going right up from the get-go.
One of the things my massage therapist, her feedback was just that. She's like, I'm finding that my cycling, I'm getting stronger really fast, and going at like fractions of the effort, and so, I mean,
isn't that nice?
It is. It's cool. I mean, obviously in the gym, I mean, that's important to me. I love, being on the bike.
Well, we all have to be efficient with our use of time.
That's it. I oftentimes don't have but, under an hour to get out there. So if 15 minutes of it were this, and I just loosen them, and then I go about my business the rest of the time. But 15 minutes with these, I'm getting like a 2-hour workout, at least my brain thinks.
And then the other thing is, any exercises are good to go as long as you're evoking your muscle mass in this. And so choose things that are specific to the kind of hobbies or recreational activities that you like, or the needs that you find. For example, again, in your hotel room, this is a great way. There's various equipment in that hotel room that you can use to get a really nice workout.
Yeah, muscle optimization, strength optimization, hormone optimization.
There you go.
All via forcing adaptation. That's why it works, man. It's so
Absolutely.
simple.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for the interview, man. Thanks for these. And guys, on the website, you'll get the link. You can get them here, and send me your feedback, man. I mean, this is the new thing. This is the way to go. So, loved it, man. Love these things. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. This episode was brought to you by B3 Sciences. Please go to drpompa.b3sciences.com to buy these game-changing blood flow restriction bands or to learn more. And check us out at Health Hunters. The link is in the show notes if you'd like to hear more about these bands. We'll be back next week and every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We truly appreciate your support. You can always find us at podcast.drpompa.com. And please remember to spread the love by liking, subscribing, giving an iTunes review, and sharing the show with anyone you think may benefit from the information heard here. And as always, thanks for listening.